All right, let's go out to Toronto, Canada, and talk to Amanda. Hey, Amanda, what's up?
Hey, John. Not much. Just trying to get some help here.
You got it.
To start off, my husband and I do not want to end our marriage, separate, divorce, anything like that.
Awesome. You knew I was going to ask that, right?
Absolutely. So I thought I'd just put that out there.
Cool.
But we are struggling with intimacy and connection in the bedroom.
Okay.
We seem to flirt outside the bedroom. It's like when we cross that threshold, something changes.
So what changes? What changes?
I feel like we are roommates as soon as we get into the bedroom. We flirt outside the bedroom, we kiss, but it's like when we get into that bedroom at night after our daughter goes to bed, I think we're just so exhausted. We get into our devices, TV, and we just don't even connect.
That sucks.
It does.
I hate that for you. So do you trust me that there's hope here?
Absolutely. I am still very hopeful for my marriage.
Okay.
My husband is still very hopeful for our marriage. We just don't know where to go, and there's a lot of stuff that has brought us to this point, so we just don't know how to walk back to where we were or start anew.
There you go. There it is. All right, so almost always somebody who's making this type of call has some sort of major life transition. Has anything happened recently? Whether it's jobs, how old's this kid? I mean, has things changed?
So things have been in flux and transition for the last 5 years. We had some fertility issues, decided to adopt. I've always wanted to adopt. So we brought at the time, this was back in 2018, a 4-year-old into our home as a foster to adopt scenario. And it took us 4.5 years to be able to finally finalize that adoption so that she can stay with us forever and ever. Amen.
Awesome.
So that just concluded last August.
Well, on behalf of everybody, thank you. Like you're lighting the path for us. And I know that doesn't make it any easier on a day-to-day basis, but thank you. It's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing. So when you cross that finish line,
yep,
she's yours. After I guess really 8.5 years, right? Almost 9 years.
Well, we got her at 4. She's now 9. So
okay.
yeah,
Right.
we've had her 5 years.
Okay. All right. She's 9. Go back 4 years ago when you said she's the one.
Yep.
And you all filled out all that paperwork and you got to see her and you got to meet her and do that little awkward interviewee thing. And like, go back to there and you're like, no, honey, she's it. And she's the one. And he's like, yes, she's going to be my daughter. What do you, I want you to be really specific, okay? And this is important, so I'm not just playing with you, okay?
Yeah.
What was graduation day? And for those of you who are not in that world, it's like, it's forever family day, right? Like you cross the line. The judge says, I decree. What did you think that was going to feel like?
I thought it was going to feel more momentous than it did.
And what did you think your home was going to feel like? Take me back. Paint me a picture of what your home was going to be like the day you drove home from the courthouse.
I knew it would be hard and there would be struggles, but I didn't expect it to take the better part of almost 5 years.
Okay.
So emotionally, we spent most of the last 5 years focused on her. She's a special needs child. She's got developmental delays. She's got ADHD. She's got possible trauma coming down the line from the adoption and the foster care and the apprehension. So there was a lot more needs than anybody knew about 5 years ago. So we've been struggling through that, and we put our marriage on the back burner thinking, okay, this might be 6 months, 8 months, and then we can move forward. And it took 4.5 years.
There you go. And
we
not only
woke up a year ago.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I say we woke up a year and a half ago, and said, "Oh my gosh, our marriage sucks."
Yes. Well, and beneath that, both of y'all think yourselves suck too.
Yes.
Because y'all put yourselves on the back burner also.
Yes.
Like good parents do in a time of crisis. The challenge is crises aren't designed to last 4.5 years. Our bodies aren't built for that. They're built for a momentary crisis.
Yep.
And so your marriage is an outgrowth of what you think about yourselves and what you think about each other individually. And so over the last 4.5 years, y'all have developed a couple of what I call Xanaxes, which are screens, avoidance, TV shows. What else? What am I missing? What else has become your numbing agent of choice in your household?
For me, it's been to find things to try and take care of myself. So I have a lot of commitments and things that I do outside of the house that bring me joy.
Busyness is an awesome drug.
Whereas my husband does not have anything besides work that brings him out of the home.
Okay.
Where I think he could benefit from doing some things, and I could probably benefit from scaling back a little bit.
Awesome. So y'all are totally normal. You're better than average. I don't say you're better than average, but y'all are pretty amazing. You spent 4.5 years fighting for an adopted special needs child. That puts you in the upper tier of humanity as far as I'm concerned. That's up there with the Kellys of the world, right? Who's lived that life too.
Yeah.
But it makes you normal. Things got chaotic, things got wild, and you put your marriage on the back burner, you put yourselves on the back burner, and you wake up 4.5 years later and you don't like yourself, you don't like each other, and your marriage is like, oh my gosh. And then it feels like we don't have a way back. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. Now, you mentioned like we hug and we kiss, and so things are okay outside of the bedroom, and then we get inside, it all gets weird. What gets weird inside the bedroom?
The fact that both my husband and I, previous to us getting together and dating, were very inexperienced with previous partners. Neither of us had long-term relationships through university, through high school.
Oh, Amanda, I don't care about any of that. I'm talking about right now. Right now, because going back in time, that's an avoidance strategy too. Right now, y'all smooch each other. You clearly love each other. You want this thing to work. You put your kid down and you all go, oh, God. It's at nightly like, oh, thank God. And then it's finally like, oh, yeah, time. And you go in the bedroom and you're like, me. And you pick up your iPad. He picks up his cell phone and you all head off into your fantasy worlds and then you just go to bed.
Yeah.
Or the kid goes to bed and you go out to do some volunteering things that you have. Your cocaine is busyness. And then he just stares at his phone because his cocaine is avoidance. And so, or he checks his email, pulls his laptop out. What happens there in that moment?
In that moment, we just kind of let it happen and continue to avoid. I've tried to bring things into the bedroom to help.
Have you tried taking things out of the bedroom?
No.
Okay.
It's crossed my mind, but I've never pulled the trigger on this needs to go, this needs to go.
Yes. So one of the people in the booth just raised her eyebrow. I was like, oh, what? I'm not talking about having sex outside the bedroom. I'm talking, well, that could be great, but I'm talking about creating a sanctuary, number one. No cell phones in the bedroom, period. No screens in the bedroom. No iPads or laptops ever in the bedroom, ever. Okay? That's number one. Because now we got to stare at each other. Now we have to be awkward, be anxious, be like, ugh. That's number one. Number two, the life that has been created, I'm going to use to say you created, but I don't think it was done intentionally. I think you've been surviving, okay? So it's not a blame thing, it's just an is thing. The life that y'all have created is a life that y'all don't like. Correct. You don't like the life. You love that baby girl. You love each other. You don't like the world y'all created. and you think things outside the bedroom are great. I don't think they are.
Probably not. They're better than in the bedroom. Let's say that.
That's fair. That's cool. But like, I don't know. Diarrhea is better than throwing up, but they both are not great, right? So one can be like pretty like better than in here, but neither of them are great. And so I always go back to Dr. Emily Nagoski, and a book that I want you to pick up is called Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. It's incredible. Dr. Nagoski. It's such a great book. But it walks through this idea of intimacy, sexuality, being about gas pedals and brakes.
Yep.
Not about a list of tricks and tools. Tricks and tools are cool, but they work only on top of a foundation of as many gas pedals going as possible and as few brakes being hit as possible. So if you could snap your fingers, what would you do differently in your life? What role would your husband play different? What would you do different?
That's a really deep question.
It's deep, but it's also pretty simple. What would you do different?
I would definitely get rid of the devices, the TV.
Okay, done. What's next? And by the way, I'm moving quick because you are so good at getting stuck.
Absolutely.
You are so good at avoiding the moment you're in. And I'd love to just have a beer and some nachos with you and dig on that one. We just don't have time for that here. But
for sure,
you are so good at like you're the guy on the movie that they keep getting shot with lasers and he blocks them with his sword. That's you. You're so good at it. So that's why I'm moving quick. Okay, cool. Devices out. Yep. What's next? Don't think. Don't overthink it. Don't deflect. Just answer.
Learning to talk to each other more.
Okay. About what? About what? Deep stuff? Little stuff? Just chit chat?
Deep stuff, because we avoid that. Even if we have date nights, we avoid those deep conversations.
What happens during deep conversation?
My husband shuts down.
Why does he shut down?
Because he's not emotionally available.
Have you created a relationship where it's okay for him to be emotionally available?
I think I have.
Okay. That's not an indictment. That's just a question.
Yeah, no, we had a small kind of breakthrough, I guess, last night when I was letting him know that I was going to be on your show today. And he actually seemed hopeful, and he said, I think this might actually be able to help us start to move forward.
Very cool. Very cool. So you don't think he's emotionally available. So give me an example of a deep thing you want to talk about.
I want to talk to him about his lack of confidence in the bedroom and how I can better help support him through that.
Okay, so do you think
together?
Do you think your intimacy challenges are he doesn't know what he's doing, or he's not good, or and then he shuts down?
He doesn't know what he's doing.
He feels ashamed of it.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay. How do you know that? Is it awful? Is it painful? Is it not fun?
He can't climax.
Okay.
It's been an ongoing issue for him since he was a teenager.
Okay.
So I know it's not just a me problem.
Okay. By the way,
he doesn't
Amanda,
know how to overcome that.
Lead with that first next time.
Sorry.
That's all good. I'm married to a man who can't climax. Yeah, start with that one. I know that's hard to get to. Just be like, hey, everybody, I'm Amanda, and here we go. But okay, that's a big deal.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of shame. You have felt shame because you thought it was your job, right?
Yep.
And geez Louise, he's just grown up with, of course, right? So can he climax by himself?
He says sometimes,
okay,
but not always. And when he does, it's difficult.
Okay. Has he gone to talk to a doctor about it?
We started down that path, and then in order to investigate further would involve him being put under for surgery so that they could do exploratory stuff, and we just weren't prepared at that point to do that.
I think we're there now. And I don't necessarily know that surgical, I'd have to get some more details from y'all, and this isn't the time for that, but there needs to be a psych eval first.
Okay.
And a a doctor will, or a psychiatrist or psychologist will walk you through, here's some things I want you all to try, and let's go through some conversations, because there might be sexual abuse in his past. It might be purely physiological. But if this is something that's been going on since he was a kid, since he was young, here's what I always tell folks. These things are a context. They're not an excuse, right? You both came into the marriage, and this is, devastating. It's awful. It's hard. It's scary. It's really scary.
Yep.
And this is his journey now to go get this stuff. And by the way, I think the language is going to be really important. If I was struggling with this myself, I would feel awkward with my wife saying, we are going to the doctor.
Okay.
No, I'm going to go. I think it's a matter of, I know y'all are experiencing this together, but this is something that has haunted him for a long time. And so there's a transition from, we're going through all of this the same way we went through the adoption, we went through IVF. Actually, you know what? I bet it's similar. Did you go through IVF?
No, because of his issues.
Okay.
We didn't even explore that option.
So
we kind of
were y'all was your infertility based on the fact that he is not able to climax?
Correct.
Ah, okay. And y'all didn't seek a doctor then?
So that's when we sought out medical intervention to help.
Mm-hmm.
And the urologist we saw said, you have to go surgery at this point. And at that point, I had always wanted to adopt. He didn't want to do the surgery. So we just went down the adoption route, and here we are.
Okay.
Almost 6 years later from that.
Yeah, it's time right now. You'll need to go see a doctor, because I've got concerns there's other things going on.
Okay.
And an exploratory, when you say surgery, I'm not thinking they're going to scope something, or they're going to send a tiny camera up his urethra, or they're going to go through and figure out if there's a physiological thing, or some type of MRI or anything like that. When I think of surgery, I think they're going to go in and start cutting and removing things. And I don't think that's the case here. So it may be a matter of the language. It may just be like, no, we're going to have to go check some things out.
Yeah.
That shouldn't scare anybody. Now, before they start cutting and everything, I'd be nervous and scared.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm self-censoring in real time. But here's the deal. Y'all have to go do that. And quite honestly, y'all should have done that 4 or 5 years ago. Y'all made a y'all drove all the way around the continent to avoid going by somebody's house.
Yep.
Right? And the way you're saying yep makes me think you've been telling him this for a long time.
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty much.
All right. It's time. And I think it's a matter of being worried that he has got something else going on physiologically that needs to get doctor's intervention ASAP. I also think there's is there any hint that this is psychological?
Possibly. Like, I've suspected it for a while.
Okay.
So.
If you have a primary care provider, and I know healthcare is different in Toronto, in Canada, if you have a primary care provider that doesn't sit down and go through an ACEs screening, it doesn't go through a childhood abuse, like walk me through what led us here, how long have you been experiencing this, because it's abnormal, it's not within the bell curve, and go straight to, well, we got to do surgery, then you need to walk out that door and find somebody else. And again, I know that's more challenging in Canada, but I want someone who's going to sit down and talk to your husband first, because the chances of this being something psychological are very, very strong, very strong. Whew. And I'd let him know I support you 100%. I'll be with you every step of the way. As much as you want me to be involved, I'm going to be involved. But as your wife, I love you, and I'm scared to death for you and your health, both psychologically and physiologically. And I mean, you can go through all of the intimacy stuff on planet Earth with this big elephant in the room, a husband who doesn't feel like he works properly, who doesn't feel like he can enjoy sex because sex is this whole other thing. It's a healthcare issue. It's a psychological issue. It is any number of things going on. Then you can do everything in the world, and it's not a matter of y'all being inexperienced. It's not. It's just not. It's not true. This is a matter of your husband's got to go get some help and figure out what's going on with his body ASAP. And then, hey, if he goes and it's like, hey, it's nothing physiological, nothing psychological, it just doesn't work, call me back, because then I'll work through what happens next. Okay. But up until now, let's go get the appropriate care we need ASAP. Time is now. Time is now. We're not going to drive around avoiding driving past this house anymore. We're going to go right to the house, and we're going to figure out what's going on. He owes that to you. He owes that to your family, and he owes that to himself. He will not have peace until he goes and gets this figured out.